Hello, everyone. Before we get started, we have to pay the bills real quick. So, I would like to tell you about Anchor. Anchor is your free all in one podcast application. With Anchor, you have creation tools built in to record and edit your episodes straight from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute the podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, and many other platforms. It even lets you monetize your podcast with no minimum listenership. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now. We use it, and so can you. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome to Going 19, episode 37. We are talking about Salem's Lot, part 3, The Deserted Village, going to the end of the book. I'm Allie. With me are Amber and Ed. Let's get this show started.
Hello.
Good enough for stuff. I like we are talking about.
It's my announcer voice.
Yeah, I did my sultry voice last time. I was laughing when I went back and edited. I was laughing at the way I was talking because I think that was like my third or fourth. What?
I was just gonna say, I just always try to sound like I'm not reading from a thing that I'm holding in my phone, because I am.
At first it took me a long time to get used to my voice. I swear I had a lisp every time I listened to myself talk, and I was like, why does no? And then that way, like, well, maybe that means you don't talk that way, and you're just hearing it for some reason. So, it took me either.
I hear no lisp, so.
Right, either I stopped doing it or I just got over it. So I'm not sure which one happened.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably. Maybe I was talking different because I knew I was being. Have you ever seen a Howard Stern movie? Like when he first got into DJing, he was, he talked like this. Let's go down. He had like a radio voice, and they're like, "Dude, no, just like talk how you're talking right now." Stop that. Okay, Amber, you were saying
when I was,
something.
I just didn't realize. I don't know. I never really pay attention to chapters of Stephen King because there's always so many sections. So it's just just keep moving to the next section. This last part is chapter 14 is almost all of it. That's a long chapter, or chapter 14. Yeah.
I didn't even notice that. You're right. I just kept season fours, and that sometimes they start over and sometimes they keep going.
Right. Well, this one gets all the way up to 50, which I didn't even notice.
You know what? I didn't notice that either. I just had to go back and remember how the book ended, and I fucking finished it yesterday. Like, wait, what happened at the end there? And I was like, oh yeah. So, okay. Thoughts?
I have to say, overall, I was underwhelmed. I think it's honestly because it's one of his first novels, and it's just very elementary almost in terms of Stephen King, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and it's there was decent buildup, and that's the climax was just real short.
That's another thing. It's a Stephen King ending.
I know. I was trying not to use those words in the same sentence, but he doesn't do. He's not a final battle kind of guy. He's all about the build up, the journey, and then it's over, and you're like, wait a minute, that's it? Where's the next page? Like how come? I don't know. And I knew it wasn't going to happen, and I couldn't remember. Okay, so first of all, the rules of being a vampire are very stringent.
They're very weird.
Well, I think they've changed since 1975. I have to say. These are old school rules. But okay, so it's, what was it, 6:51 or something, and the sun was setting at 6:55, and how he doesn't get consciousness until time that the sun goes, officially down. What if he wants to get up at, I don't know, 6:15 and get a shower, brush his teeth? He's in a basement. He doesn't have to worry about, the sun coming to get him. So it It was weird. It, like,
Well, it
4 minutes was way too close for me.
Yeah.
It definitely felt like some kind of like hold, because that was my thought too, was like, if they're in there, who cares? It's dark down there. Don't go down there. Like, they can get out.
Right.
But
Like,
I guess not.
who was it? Randy McDougal, when they pulled him out and he like wasn't even conscious and he just like crawled back under the thing and like laid back down.
And so when they dragged Randy McDougal out, or I think it was Randy, the dad out of his like cellar area, like they could have like chained him outside or something. I don't know what was stopping them from detaining him from crawling back into the cellar, because if he was out in the sun for long enough, he probably would have died.
I mean,
yeah, and I wrote that down somewhere. Go ahead, Amber.
The thing is, though, like, it seems like he wasn't aware that they were there, but you don't know. So, like, I'm kind of with them, where it's like, just shut him back in. Oh, well, no, I don't want to do this right now. Like,
no, I'm pulling him by the foot and sticking him back in the sun. Like that's less people you got to stake through the heart, tomorrow night.
Yeah,
if we can find a couple and just and first of all, throwing them out in the sun is a way better idea than fucking going around and staking them all.
My point is that there's no guarantee that he's not going to wake up. Like,
well, if he does, he's going to be in the sun and burning. So, I'm not too worried.
Way to the sun. While you're trying to get him there.
He being in there. I was wondering what happened. So it's a little terrifying. Wait, what was his name? Damn, I forgot. Baby McDougal.
I don't know.
Yeah. I like there could be a whole book there on it, like the town.
Oh gosh, that'd be awful.
Yeah, like we should have had a couple scenes with him like flying out somebody's window. Nothing more terrifying than a vampire baby floating outside your window, right?
Yeah, I felt like most of the scary was like, oh, the town is deserted, but you don't really see many of the actual vampires. Like,
see this chapter or this part, same difference, I guess. Is that ominous, weird, disconnected tone I was talking about? I really felt it in here, and I think part of it is that you just know, like, the whole town's wasting away and turning into vampires. So, like, every there's less people in this town.
Yeah.
So it has this like overriding arc where it's just, I think there might be a delay. We keep talking over each other. But there's this overriding arc, this ominous, like, oh man, this isn't going to end well. But then they just go and kill Barlow, and no big deal.
That's what I was gonna say too. Is like, unlike, you have the ominous feeling in other stories, like it obviously, but you also have this group of this group of good fighters that we've seen go through so much together and come together to take on this evil. Whereas in this story, it's like this haphazard group of men and a little boy who barely know each other. And I guess we're expected to like feel like they're together, but then even as they get picked off one by one, it's like, meh, oh, that's sad, like whatever. I don't know. I don't feel the camaraderie there. Like, it doesn't feel the same.
For them, like these guys, like, like
they are not a quartet,
right? They are definitely not. And I think maybe Matt Burke was my favorite one. He had a damn heart attack. What the hell?
Yeah, that was like the most anticlimactic.
Yeah, a town full of vampires. This guy has a heart attack. What the hell?
Well, and again, I kind of just went, what was the point of killing him?
Yeah.
Like, I know he was kind of their ringleader. He was the organizer, but
he was like the R&D department.
Well, it kind of felt like Ben and Matt were meant to be one character. Like, I don't really know why they weren't. I guess because one's the outsider and one's from in town, but like,
I guess.
I don't know. Ben is, I guess, the protagonist, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Matt has all the answers. Let's follow his lead. And it's like, why? Because he's a teacher and because he read some books overnight? Like, what is going on?
Right, I go to the library to get those books.
Then you had the random guy that came to visit him that didn't want to be there. Like, well, why did you come visit him if all you're thinking about is leaving?
Yeah, that story, I was literally falling asleep when I was reading that section until he died, of course, because I was like, is that really what's happening here?
Well, yeah, of course, in Stephen King style, he leaves it hanging. You're like,
What happened? And then they're like, oh, yeah.
She's like, are you family? When I think Ben calls, and he's like, well, no, but we're friends. Like, oh, okay. Well, he died. Like, wait a minute. No, you don't.
Yeah.
It's not information you just tell to someone that's not family.
Yeah. It's like there are such things as HIPAA regulations, like that would not fly. And I don't know if maybe that was like a back in the day thing, but
I mean, it might have been, but
Well, I don't remember exactly what it is, but there's a section like that too, where they go to ask some. Oh my god, I can't remember, but I was actually reading it out loud to Matt, and we were both like, okay, that's a huge privacy violation because they start telling him all about what he bought and where it was from, and what was that? I can't remember.
Who was this? You don't remember?
No, I'm sure. Like, I'll have to see if I can think of it.
Yeah, maybe we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we blame a lot on
75, but
I think that has a lot to do with it. Honestly, the world was a lot different. What is that? 50 years ago? Almost 50 years ago.
yeah.
Good and bad, I guess you'd say. I think maybe the most terrifying part here, like even when it's just getting started in chapter 14, like these people are being like fed on like a little bit at a time. Like, and so they're like being slowly eaten alive or getting their blood sucked out, and they don't even realize it. They're just like, oh, I don't feel good. And then what is it,
scary movie style?
Oh, they wake up dead.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
They have that whole debate where like, how you wake up dead?
Yeah, I don't remember scary movie.
It's like, unless you a zombie. It's the like. Anyway, that to me was like kind of the most terrifying part. There's just these people. I mean, until they're actually a town full of vampires. But leading up to that, you got all these people.
To anyone they know or are close
to, and starts like eating them a little bit at a time. Like they have a daily quota and they can't like get past or go over that, so they have to come back tomorrow. Like,
I mean, I think that's way smarter than like killing them.
Yeah, because it's growing their numbers. It's ensuring their survival.
Oh, it's way worse. Like most vampire stories, they suck their blood and they're either dead or they're a vampire. They don't come back like 4, 5, 6, 7 times.
Depends.
I think most of my vampires are Anne Rice related at this point because most of what I've read, and I'm not going, Twilight or any of that because they don't count.
Good, yeah. No.
I saw Sterno.
I found what I was talking about. It's when they're talking to the guy at the flower shop. And he was like, a man came in last Friday and bought every rose I had in stock. And then just like tells them everything about him. I'm like, Jesus, you're like, okay, no privacy, I guess.
Yeah, what was the deal with
the flower shop? That's a little different, but
mean, he didn't even know who the
page
guy was. So
503. He's
what
like,
is
that's
that, like
another
a
thing where I'm
garlic
like,
thing?
what do roses help?
Yeah, is that
But
just? And he doesn't even explain it. So does that mean like that's the way it was back then? Everybody just knew that.
Maybe.
yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he was researching vampires for this and he was like, oh, I've never read that. I'll include it or something.
That's
Smoke
definitely what
foreign
it felt like.
cigarettes.
Like so many things thrown in here.
Yeah, it says he smoked foreign cigarettes by the smell. That guy's good. I don't know how you tell where a cigarette's from by the way it smells.
Yeah. Unless it was like a clove or something. But
Yeah. That's.
I mean,
It's like
I feel like the
tall and
chick.
striking, totally bald. Yeah. Smoked foreign cigarettes. Put him in the back of his car, a Dodge, I think. It's like, you want to tell him his address too? Like,
Right? Did you get the license plate? What the hell? What good are you? And now on the page before that, Mark,
That's a funny idea.
for a priest, Mark said right up there. The next line, it says, why, if I must accept the existence of vampires, and in parentheses it says, and it seems I must, at least for the time being. So how do you talk in parentheses?
Maybe he just says it. Parentheses, and it seems I must at least.
Yeah, right. It's just like an air quote thing. He's just like, he's got two like big V's in his hand. Or not V's,
Or
two
maybe
C's
that's
he's holding
supposed
up.
to be like, yeah. Maybe that's like a thought that he's having in his head. It's only for us.
There's quotation marks.
Yeah, I know.
At least he thinks he is. I was like, wait a minute, how the hell does that work? Like, is he whispering that? Like, does that like mean he was whispering?
This is why all these conversations are so strange, is because it's like these guys don't know each other. So there's like no sense of like, I mean, I guess Jimmy and Matt sort of, but like, I don't know. It's just like, I'm not buying it.
Yeah,
Like at this point, I think Ben and Mark haven't even met yet, which I didn't realize they didn't know each other till like 100 pages left in the book. Like, wait a minute, what? And he asks a whole Mark, like, what? I
call
call
everybody 12.
the kid in the Stephen King book.
Yeah, I think so. 11 or 12.
Yeah, yet again, though, he seems like the smartest one and the one who has his shit together the most.
I was, yeah, like, he's like, no, I don't want to do it. I can't do it anymore.
He wants to get their skulls
Smacked together, like, what was it, with such force that they shattered or something. I was like, oh, that was a hell of a picture. So he's like, I don't want to do it. I don't. And Ben's like, it has to be both of us. Suck it up. Like, wait a minute, dude. No. First of all, you're an adult, so how about you go in there and risk your life? He's kind of got nothing to live for, but that's besides the point. He told, like, there's a whole page. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go. Okay.
No, you go, because I was done.
Well, you said there's a whole page.
Oh, well, there's a whole page of them going back and forth with, like, Mark going, I don't want to do it, and Ben's like, ah, and he
ran out of words.
So he just said, come on, like 3 times in a row. He's like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, dude, first of all, fuck you. This kid doesn't even know you. You met 10 minutes ago, and his parents died the second he met.
There's no reason it has to be him just because he knows about vampires. Like,
yeah, why don't you go get the Parkins Gillespie? Oh, right. He's not there anymore.
He refused to go. He was like, vampires, yep, all right, I'm out.
I was kind of, at first I was like, oh, dude, he's like the way they built that character up, and then he's another one that just kind of became a non-factor.
Yeah.
But he was all sniffing around what's going on, and they spend like you said, I think you said this last time, and we're like, you can tell this is almost like his first foray into supernatural, and a lot of times on what would happen
through all this and spend the rest of our lives
in prison. Like, well, no, just end the book before that becomes a thing. Like, he doesn't do that in, say, It, or any other of the 60 books. Like, this is his first time trying to rationalize what is, first and only time, I guess I would say, because it rationalize what normal people, trying to make it more relatable. Maybe that's what he's doing. And then The Shining's his next book, so he stopped trying to do that real fast.
I mean, they talk about the police in It and like how they can be blamed and stuff like that. So there's a little thought, but I agree it's not the same. Like that. I think that's part of my issue with this book is there's so much dialogue, and I'm not into the characters enough to really care about what they're saying. So it's like they talk about stuff like that, and it's like, okay, whatever. Like, where's the action?
Or what they're doing, even, because like I feel like every single time they're like, the day got away from them, it's already 3 o'clock, and I'm like, why didn't you get up, like, pre-plan this, like, make the stakes like during the night or something, and then leave first thing in the morning and find Barlow.
Yep.
I think they actually tried that, but something happened, didn't it?
No, because they always had other stops to make.
Yeah, that's stupid. Like, nope, free up the whole day. That whole getting ready, I guess you'd say, and the next day they were supposed to wake up, and they had to wait for the school to close at 3 o'clock. It's like, nope, that's a bad plan. I'm going to that school at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
But shit, I lost my train of thought. I still think the stake through the heart idea, I don't know, what, a couple hundred to 1,000 times is a really hard way to go. Especially, for, I guess, normal people, you would say. That's not something, I don't know, maybe it gets easier after the first couple hundred, but I think dragging them out in the sun would be a way easier way to,
close the door and lock it.
You can't do anything, right? Or, like Randy, was he under the trailer? I can't remember. Like block his, access, and I'd be interested to see what would happen then, because I'm not sure how much thinking, cognitive ability is going on there. And even when they're like conscious, he keeps how they're not very like cognitive. They're just kind of zombie-like. And I wrote that they're more like zombies than vampires.
That didn't make sense to me was that they were saying, like, at the end is like, if you destroy their sunburn place, then they'll have a hard time making a new one. It's like, why? What? I don't get that. Like, only one and done for that.
Yeah. Well, and also, this was the entire thing that bothered me at the very end of the book. Like, how do you leave for a year knowing that you left the town like that? Like, no. Like, go back and clean up your mess. Like, I'm sorry, Sam. Dean Winchester would have taken care of this. Like, I was so mad by the end of the book. I was like, how do you just leave?
What I don't get is why. Like, what did they think? They just hoped they were all gonna die or go like somewhere else? Like, I don't get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes me back to the beginning now. Like, I didn't, but I almost went back and reread the prologue, because he was checking the newspaper every day from. I probably should have, but I didn't.
Well, I did go back. Like, it was saying, he was checking the newspapers, and he was keeping an eye out for stories specifically from Salem's Lot, and he saw the one that was comparing it to the town in Vermont, and he was like, I have to go back. And I'm like, why now? Like, what story did you see? Because they're all about the same.
Well, the story was the ghost town in Salem's Lot, where it talks about, like, Parkins is gone and Mabel is gone, but they don't want to talk about it. Like, nobody.
But they already knew that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, him seeing that article, that's what my question. Why did you wait? You already knew that the vampires were going to eat everyone. Did you think they were going to die or something? I don't understand.
Your guess is as good as mine.
why
didn't they die when he killed Barlow? Isn't that like one of the vampire rules? You kill the head vampire, then everyone else dies.
So
That's
I
what I
had
thought too. But if that was going to happen, it would have happened immediately after they killed Barlow. And when it didn't, when they were literally still coming after him in the cellar, you would think he would realize, oh, that's not a thing.
Yeah, if they
And I
hadn't,
still
yeah,
have
they
to
would have.
say this town is full of vampires.
They would have like turned
I
to
had
dust
that.
within seconds. Yeah.
I was just gonna say I had that thought too, but I mean, I think we, at least, Dad and I both know why. If you remember
Talking about Callahan?
from the Dark Tower.
I don't.
Mm,
Wait, you had what
the
thought?
so Barlow is a type 1 vampire.
I don't remember the difference. Type 3, I think, was like zombies, right?
Yeah, type 1 can create, or I don't remember, can like basically do what Barlow did. Type 2 can only create other type 2s and type 3s. So they create the like not as good vampires.
I mean,
So they're not really connected to each other in the same way, like traditionally.
how do you get more type 1 vampires then?
I think only other type 1s.
So there's a finite number. You can't make more?
That's my understanding, but I don't remember 100% from the Dark Tower. I know they talk more about it in there.
Right. Have you seen our pet Callahan? We love him.
Yeah, talk about, oh my God. Like, again, my memory of Callahan is definitely like the
Not this
disheveled,
guy.
not
Go
this
ahead.
guy, but also like his final battle with Barlow. That I didn't remember that being as little as it was, because the way he talks about it in the Dark Tower, it's like his white whale. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like it
So
wasn't really anything. It was
what? I mean, right, because it was a confrontation, and it
I guess
almost
it
makes
was
me.
his confirmation that he's lost his faith. So I guess for a priest that is a lot.
Well, I mean, the cross was working, and then it wasn't. So did he lose his faith like mid battle? Is that
but it went from glowing
going to burning his hand? Like, okay, what happened
Well,
there?
that to me it's weird, because that's like Tinkerbell magic. It's like it's how much you believe that makes it work, because clearly you believe or it wouldn't have worked in the first place. Like, you don't just, what do you think that just stopped like, I don't get that.
That
Yeah.
definitely was weird, and I definitely agree. The only thing that I could like rationalize as to why it stopped glowing was because he started thinking logically instead of just going on impulse.
Instead of religion,
Yeah.
that chapter had
But
a lot of religion too. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, and he was also, Mark had just left, so he was no longer had that righteous indignation of protecting someone. He was
Yeah.
just by himself.
I feel like he
Yeah,
would have been better off if he had just put the cross down and not shown Barlow that he's not nothing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I don't.
yeah I kind of wish
He was in book 1 at this point.
Callahan?
Like, yeah. It's gonna be a while before
Yeah,
we meet him again.
I think it's book 5, right?
Yeah, it's the Wolves of the Calla.
Yeah.
He's where do they meet him? He's in the Calla?
Well, I guess spoilers, because he clearly doesn't die.
Oh. Are we spoiling shit?
I mean, I
Wait.
already
Oh yeah,
I
I
already
did
knew
mention
he
that
didn't die
already.
from Salem's Lot, though, because you
Yeah,
follow
yeah.
him to what, New York or wherever?
Vermont? Yeah,
Yeah.
New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
oh yeah
Well, you know what? Then it picks up. He's in New York when at a homeless shelter, I think. Right? Yeah. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves there. So Callahan has more to come. So we'll just leave that at that. But I was
Callahan has well, yeah, never mind. He redemption arc.
Yeah,
I don't
think this
Callahan had any idea he was going to become the other Callahan. So,
no, not at all.
This character is much. I don't know. I can't tell if I like this guy or not because every time, you know, in the back of my head, I got Dark Tower Callahan, who I do like.
Yeah, but Dark Tower Callahan has been through way more shit by the time we meet up with him. Like, that's a different person.
Oh, definitely. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know that I like this guy on his own. he's not sympathetic, really. Well, I don't dislike him, but like, you know, you had one job, and everybody
was almost a little
too realistic. They all like fuck this, and they just run, like, because that's kind of what people in real life would actually do. So he's a lot closer to the real world than he, I guess, than the fantasy world, which starts to flip as he gets more practice, I guess you'd say.
Well, that was all that you kept saying about it was like, how come they don't just run away? So it's like I guess he tried that, and it's not as good as a story.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like Salem's Lot, but you know, rereading it, it's like, and I think it could make a decent movie if they change the Barlow part, which they probably will, because never mind. Look what they did to that other movie that shall not be named.
Yeah.
So I think it could be.
I didn't even remember Barlow died because it's so anticlimactic. Like, in my memory, he was still alive, and like we meet up with him later. I'm like, wait, that's it? Seriously?
Yeah, all for 4 minutes. Although it was interesting
especially,
that.
Sorry, especially after he had been so many steps ahead of them and survived for thousands of years or whatever. It's like, really? That's all it took?
Seemed a little easy. And I was thinking about that. Like, one of them should have died. I'm not sure which one it should have been, but there's no way they come out of that unscathed. To do it, or his big ass wings like he has in every Salem's Lot picture you've ever seen, and there should have been a battle. He should have killed one of them, and one of them got away by the skin of their teeth or something. So it was like, yep, staked him. He screamed and disappeared in the dust because it was 6:53. So sorry about your luck.
Good thing it wasn't daylight savings time.
Yeah, right. Good thing they weren't in Arizona. That would have screwed everything up.
Or in, like, where is it where it never gets dark?
Oh, right, like Alaska. They have.
Depends on the time of year.
Yeah, they have 30 days a night. If you've seen that, which is an awesome idea. That I think they could have done. They could make like a season out of that.
Where it's just night
all the time. There's no daylight coming.
Yeah.
But then it's like on the other side, it's or maybe it's the same place, and then it's like daylight for 6 months. There's the sun never goes down, which I think that would be harder for me. I wouldn't be a fan of either one, honestly.
Never being dark would
be weird. And I want to say it'd be hard to sleep, but it probably wouldn't.
You just get blackout curtains.
Right. I don't seem to have that problem of hard to sleep anymore. But an awesome TV show. Have you guys seen a movie?
Parts of it.
Yeah.
Never all of it.
It's a great idea that didn't become what it could have. They were Russian vampires, so I didn't like them. I guess I'm a Russianist. Well, I guess everybody is right now.
No. Putinist.
Okay,
back up.
Not Russia's fault.
Yeah. It's fun. We're not going to get into any of that. I have a blue and white sticker right next to me, or a blue and yellow sticker right next to me. The one on 507. Okay, what did Straker, what happened? I mean, I know what happened to him, but why did Barlow do that? Why did he hang him upside down and like disembowel him and his throat ripped wide open on 507?
Well, my understanding was that Straker came in bleeding, and then Barlow couldn't control himself, and so I don't know if he did any of that in the course of killing him, but then anything afterwards to me just felt like a presentation, like, look what I can do and don't care about or whatever.
The Straker was still alive after Mark, and he was bleeding, and
yeah.
Well, what is Barlow, like 2 years old? He's never seen somebody bleed before without being able to lose his shit?
That's what I was thinking too. Like he's this, like, this, I almost said renowned vampire. I don't know. Old.
He's high up in the vampirarchy, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like, come on, this is the guy running the show and making other vampires, and he can't go 2 minutes without a little blood in his presence?
Yeah. Well, maybe it wasn't just because, I mean, Mark cracked him in the head, and head wounds bleed real quickly, real easily. So maybe it was just the sheer amount of blood that, like, kind of like a shark feeding frenzy. Like, he really couldn't control himself because there was that much blood.
And that's why the throat was ripped open.
Yeah.
Right. He was just in a frenzy at that point. Like, yeah, I thought, like, somebody said somewhere, and I'm not sure where it is, that, like, Straker.
Next page.
Straker screwed up, Jimmy said. No eternal life for him. But why this? Why hung upside down? Like this was a punishment.
Well, he screwed up by getting attacked by Mark.
Yeah.
Well, right, but is that why he died? Because he screwed up?
Well, in Barlow's weird reasoning, yes, because he screwed up, which got him attacked, which made Barlow kill him. So it's his fault.
Sounds like an addict.
I guess he is an addict. Yeah. Well, you know, if you die without it, I don't know if that's the same, but yeah, I guess that is some kind of weird backwards reasoning, but I guess that's exactly the way that went. Wasn't my fault. I mean, like the snake. You ever hear the story of the snake that bites the woman, and she's like, "Why'd you do that?" He's like, "Well, you knew I was a snake, stupid."
Yeah.
Like that's what it's like. Like you're gonna hang out with. It's like a fable, fairy tale.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're gonna work for a guy who can't control himself around a little blood. I mean, you know how this is going to end at some point, right?
Yeah. Unless he expected to be turned into a vampire eventually.
I'm sure he did. Why else? Yeah.
But why didn't Barlow make him a vampire at that point?
Because
maybe that was the punishment.
I just saw it as he lost control and Straker died before he could have even ever had a chance.
Okay, so how do they make them vampires? Is that the slow burn thing? Is that when you become a vampire? Because like, why couldn't?
Yeah, you can't like rip their throat off. They have to have some kind of like
vampires can heal.
But he's not a vampire at that point.
Well, if you hurry up and do it real quick, then the throat will heal.
Okay, I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't think we saw anybody actually become a vampire, did we?
Well, it kind of went into it when, like, in part 2, when Jimmy was attacked, he said he felt something in his blood. And then when Ben cleaned it, when he cleaned the wound, he felt it leave him. But that's the closest we get to an explanation.
That's not really an explanation, because that's just, I mean, yeah, that everyone that gets bit feels that, I guess. That wouldn't. I don't know. I don't understand the rules.
I don't think this was a slow throat ripping. I think it was he saw the blood and it was gone in 1 second. Like he was dead. I don't think there was ever a chance of that.
Or maybe
Yeah.
he was like borderline, like on the edge of death, and Straker got to him too late. Or he didn't use his teeth. He just like split open his throat
And then
and
stuck his face
like
in there.
licked it.
Yeah. Squeeze it into his mouth.
Well, because
Right.
especially the hanging upside down, that would take all the blood, and that's they say it's an effective way to drain someone of blood.
Oh, do they? No, I'm just kidding.
That's what all of the horror
I'm kidding.
things that I have read have said. I would not know from experience.
This is before any of those rules applied.
Yeah. But like in slaughterhouses and stuff, they hang the animals upside down.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
just picturing him
And then
by
like
the
holding
way,
up his head and like dripping it into his mouth. What?
the letter that he leaves for them is probably my favorite part of the book. I'm not gonna lie. It is wonderful. Like,
That was like
So pretentious and pompous.
it was like the Zodiac, like leaving a letter for the cops.
yeah. And I just like the way he speaks too. Like, it's just, I don't know. It seems like he should have had a more exciting death.
Yes, for sure.
He would have had so many, I don't know, checks and balances to make sure he wouldn't have got caught. And
Right.
maybe
Not just one.
Yeah, the knives. That was pretty cool though. And
That
why didn't
was
we get to
horrific.
why didn't we get to experience that? We would get to hear about it later.
Yeah,
all
that
the
is also
cool,
weird.
all the cool deaths like we missed.
I mean, I honestly though, I kind of prefer that.
I mean, to a point, it can, there's something to be said for imagination, but he did it too many times. We missed Susan. We missed Matt, not Matt, Jimmy. And those were two of our main characters.
Yeah. It also was just really confusing. I had to read that section a few times to understand what was happening. And then I was like, oh, we haven't found out yet. They're telling us now. Okay. And I would like compare the information from that to what they said before. And I'm like, couldn't we have seen it or something? Like, I don't know. I agree. That part was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that took me a minute. I was like, wait, when Mark's like doing the flashback, like, oh, wait, this is a flashback. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, did he just lie to him?
It
go down there?
That didn't bother me that you didn't see it in real time that he did the flashback, because you get the raw emotion from him. And I loved reading that little section of Mark's where he just like had to scream to get all his emotions out.
That was very relatable. Not that I've ever, seen three people close to me die, and I could see that happening. And again, this poor fucking, what is it Matt that says that? He's like, you poor brave boy, or something like that. Like, yeah, that kind of sums it up right there. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Don't be a little wimp.
Right? I thought you were a writer.
There's so many kids that have to go through so much shit in Stephen King books.
Yeah, right. You think you're having a bad day. You wait till the next book.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I think
that's a good point.
I did. Yeah, I just thought of that as I was saying it. I was like, I was gonna say like, wait till the kid's down the road. I was like, wait a minute, you don't have to wait very long.
Yeah.
Because then is what? Then it's Shining, and then it's I think The Stand is the next actual book. Night Shift and something in between. But, the kids didn't do too bad in The Stand, except for Joe. Well, Joe made it out all right. Matter of fact, there's not many
kids.
Yeah, there's not many kids in that book, as a matter of fact, which is saying that out loud is something of an anomaly for him.
It's hard to like cross country and like lose everyone you've ever known and try to survive with kids around.
Or you could have made it only the kids lived, like Village of the Damned.
Anyway.
Yeah, so yeah, I feel bad for Mark. I feel like Mark should have died because he had nothing to live for.
Or at the very
Like,
least, I feel like he should have had another story. Like, does he ever come back anywhere? I don't think so.
What do you mean? In a different story?
Like in Stephen King universe, yeah.
Mark? No.
Like this feels like a setup for him to go and do his own thing.
Well, no. I mean, he's still with Ben. What do you mean?
No, like
growing up though, like following, kind of like he did with The Shining and then Doctor Sleep.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
this more like this feels like I guess that was what The Shining was. It feels like the origin story of Mark Petrie. Like he has another adventure that he's going to go on after this.
That would have been cool.
That would have been cool.
Stephen King, if you're listening.
Right, because he's out of ideas. Where does he get his ideas?
The white.
That's his number one hated question. Where do you get your ideas? You can't stand.
Real quick, it made me think of when he talks about at the end, or he talks about how I don't even remember what it is specifically, but it's like beyond the Christian and beyond what we know as heaven, and just like everything that is the universe. And I'm like, okay, but
starting to sound a little Pennywisey.
Like, well, like I think it's like the same white goodness that we get from like it and from The Stand, but again, it's trying really hard to be like, this isn't a religion thing, but it just feels like a religion thing.
Or kind of totally turns into a religion thing with the, with Callahan and with the dipping themselves in holy water and.
Oh yeah.
But that's what I mean. So he makes a point of saying, I have to find it.
I know what part you're talking about. I think I highlighted it. Whatever. It makes a point in saying it's not like the religious God, it's some other force or something like that.
Yeah, like the above all force. I'm like, okay.
But then at the same time, it is the religion God, because we're dipping ourselves in holy water and what, taking hypos to like inject vampires with holy water. Yeah, why didn't they do that? That would have been cool. Instead of like stake through the heart, man, just like shoot them up with some holy water. You don't have to. They just like start steaming right in their. But they spent half a day, or Ben spent half a day making, I don't know, 500 steaks. Seems kind of pointless. I gotta like. This is like the day before the end of your life, possibly, and you're.
Well, especially to not go back the next day and use them all. Like, what?
What was the point?
Yeah, because then they were like,
he kept them.
Why? Yeah, he left them there because he just started walking because he hadn't talked to anybody or something. And then Mark drove. Because Jimmy died. Yeah, and the lines have been cut. Why were the lines cut if nobody was like waiting for him to spring a trap? Like when they couldn't call anybody, it's like, okay, someone's we're about to have a battle. But, I forgot it was Stephen King.
Well, they set the lines at the Petrie place so they couldn't reach Matt at the hospital when they were still alive.
At Eva Miller's, I mean. Because Ben couldn't get a hold of anybody. Not Eva Miller's. Oh, it was at the Petries, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, and
because he was doing the stakes at the Petries.
Okay, then that makes sense.
Somebody mentioned that Barlow did that specifically so they would know. He didn't. It's not like he did it because he was worried they were going to call for help. He wanted them to know he was there.
Basically.
Like how he made him kill Susan just by leaving her there.
Yeah.
That was I got the Barlow's letter right in front of me. He's like, I left something for you. I'm like, oh, what a dick. Like he did that just so they would have to kill her. But then again, why did they have to kill her? They let fucking Randy McDougal crawl back in his hole. Maybe they just could have let her go till the next night and, see what happens.
She was like the only one they killed besides Barlow.
Yeah, like just because he left her there, they had to kill her. Like, I hope he's not leaving anything else around.
Well, I think he didn't want to kill her, but they convinced her. They were like, no, this is better for her. Like, you're freeing her. I'm like,
yeah, that's what.
Is he though?
Yeah, how do you know that? And he was acting like Mark. He was like, I can't do this. So
that was another question I had. They said that Barlow, now he could have been lying, but he said that like they don't have memories of their lives once they're undead. They only live to serve the master. And so it's like, why do so many of them seem to take revenge on the people that are still living that they have problems with then? I don't get that.
Yeah, that or every one of them went back to either revenge or their loved ones, and like remember.
Yeah, like loved ones I get because they would easily be let in. Revenge, that's a whole, like the busload of kids, which was a great visual. But
yes, that was a great scene. I love that.
Yeah.
I spent that whole book wondering why that bus driver was a dickhead, and then it all made sense in one the maybe only good scene at the end of the book.
Well, I wrote the same thing. I was like, oh, this is why we've learned about so many of these random people and the terrible things they've done in the town. It's because they're going to get something coming to them. Okay, now I get it.
Right, every single one of them. I was amused and surprised when Parker lets you like, fuck that, I'm out of here.
Honestly, it's like the smartest one.
Yeah, Mark tried to do the same thing, and so their plan was to run to Mexico, the shoes, and hang out until they saw
vampire activity,
I guess, and then go back and burn the place to the ground.
They saw that for a year before they went back. Also, why would you wait until the fall? Why not go back in the summer when the days are longer?
All of this is just like, why leave in? I mean, I get that you're traumatized, but like, they're all there. You know where a lot of them are or are going to be. Like, you just need to take care of it now. I don't understand that.
I know. I was so mad.
Yeah, why did they wait a year to go burn the town? Like, they could have done that on their way out.
After a bunch of people have died.
Yeah. Well, I want to say that, and I didn't read this super carefully. I didn't go back and like look or anything, but I feel like they probably the reason they didn't or weren't able to when they left, one, they probably didn't think about it. Two, I think it had been raining. Because like this entire
that's true.
Took place in the span of like a week.
Oh.
And when Mike turned into or let Danny Glick into Matt's house, they were like, yeah, we didn't see any like ladder spots in the mud outside your window. Mud means water, so.
Well, I mean, it's still stupid, but that actually does make, I mean, at least that it sort of makes sense because they, I guess, were probably waiting because he said it was like the driest that it could be that day or something. They were probably waiting for a drier climate, but
like falls when all the crops dry up.
Burn the whole town down. Like you could go and stab them all.
Yeah.
I mean, stabbing them all should have not been even a plan.
Okay, whatever. But you don't need to wait for the dry season. Like, what are you hoping they're all going to stay there in a nice little contained area?
No. I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying they should have just took the whole stabbing thing off the table. Like that was never going to work. And I get fall is that's when all the crops have already harvested and all the corn stalks are dry, and all that. So still to get some gas, you could have made it work.
Right. But I believe that's what we're supposed to think, because that's why they had to wait. And I don't know.
I think he took the rural Maine thing a little too seriously on that part. Because I think he's like, the dry fields of vegetables out in the country up there.
Summer can still be dry. Huh. And you have longer days.
Yeah, well, yeah. And it's 100 degrees out. That shit'll burn like a son of a bitch, I'm sure. Aren't all the wildfires always in the summer?
Typically.
And I think every year California has one that's the worst one ever. I don't think, I mean, I'm sure I haven't heard anything this year, so knock on wood. Yeah, so I got Barlow's letter here. Like he's going to be in there, and he didn't. I don't know. First of all, can't a vampire just like dig 6 feet into the ground and like lay there like till the ship blows over, or if he needs a place to go? Why does he need to go? Was he just being a snarky bastard and like staying in the basement of the place where Ben was at?
Probably.
I mean, it kind of fits his personality. And I guess after, I don't know, what did he say? He's like 1,000 years old or something. I mean, he was like, I forget what he said.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He was older than I thought he was. So, I mean, after all, have a better plan to protect himself when, I mean, first of all, he would have known that there was a chance the Marston house was not going to work long term. So he would have had a plan B coming in, which I don't know, might have been the store. I don't know. Seems like really bad planning for a guy who thinks of everything else.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes there. Like, yeah.
Well, when we write our second book, we can make sure there's no holes. I have a bunch of not finished books. I have to actually take one of them and finish them. I was old when I was young, when its members hid in the catacombs of Rome, when a church. I was old when the church was young. So in zero, what do they call that now? AD still, right? The changed BCE or something. I forget what that meant, before the current era or something. So he was old 2,000 years ago. Yeah,
yeah.
They took the religion part out of that too. I guess the scientists were getting mad. So he's at least, I don't know, 3,000 years old. Come on, I expect more from you, Barlow.
Well, so I think that means he's definitely the same vampire that Hubert Marston met.
Oh, for sure.
Well, wait.
He never met Marston. He says that.
Yeah, he says that.
So,
but he said he was like, he must have done something to allow Barlow to enter that house, because he said something along the lines of like, he facilitated me moving here.
I think he knew who Barlow was somehow. I think that's how I took that. Like, he was like, "Hey, man, you might want to eat this town. We even got a house up on the hill. It's pretty cool."
Well, it seems the way he phrases that, where he says what is that, wine, Midoc, I don't know, is excellent. Procured for me especially by the late owner of this house, whose personal company I was never able to enjoy. So it makes it sound like he was preparing for Barlow to come there, but maybe something happened to him before Barlow actually got there.
Shot his wife in the face and hung himself.
Yeah, we never found out what happened.
To her or to him?
And Mrs. Marsden.
That seems like another story that could have been told that never was.
Yeah, I'd like to follow Mark, because I feel like Ben would drop off at some point.
Yeah.
He would become like Callahan. He would be a homeless, 14-year-old. He would be homeless because he was a 14-year-old. And there's like underground, homeless vampires. There's a lot. I'm gonna when I see Steve in September, I'm gonna talk to him about this. Oh, I haven't done that tour yet. I guess I gotta do that soon. Amber will talk about that. But hey, there was 2 tours at the same time when I was looking at the schedule. That means there's a chance. So there's a public one at the same time as the private one. So I wonder which one Jamie will be on.
I imagine. Go ahead.
Jamie does the public and Stu does the private.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
I'm not sure which one I want. No offense to either one of you. You're both awesome.
Both. I guess we've had both.
Yeah.
No.
Well, maybe
I'll be
there is.
doing the tour in August.
Shout out to SK Tours of Maine there.
If we could take both at the same time, that's what I was saying. Which obviously we can't. It was a joke anyway.
Oh, well, maybe in Stephen King's Maine you can.
That is the end of part 1 of Salem's Lot. Part 3, The Deserted Village. Stay tuned next week where we continue our discussion and finish Salem's Lot. Thank you.